Okay, so I went to China, Shanghai, China, when I was 15, and I went there after I was living in India for 2 years, and I convinced my parents to move there. They didn't want to move back to LA, so I was happy with my life abroad. And I wanted to study theater, so it was, for me, it seemed like there was only two options, so either the UK or New York, and I chose New York because I thought I was just gonna go just head first. Oh, actually, well, yes, being a third culture kid, actually, I think was one of the major reasons though, just because I had grown up. I think by that time I was like, I think 8 years outside of the U.S. Um, being here in New York, I always concerned about going out, just because. Well, I mean, first, going out at night here, let's just be clear, you never really know what you're going to get into. With one, just the train system, it's late. And, like, especially if you're coming all the way from Brooklyn back to Manhattan, it's really late. And people on the train can be very aggressive. Um, there's that. But just simple day to day, felt a little, I felt more unsafe here than I would have felt in Shanghai. But but I think that New York did allow me to have a space just for myself. I think that New York does allow you to explore different different parts of you, whether that be your interests, whether maybe I'm a creative, so that's why it helped me. But definitely figure out who you are, what you want, what's most important to you. I think that it does shine a huge light on that because New York does make you examine yourself. And this is strictly from an emotional and mental perspective, rather than like a safety perspective first. Um, but when someone does tell me, like the first thing that comes out of their mouth of like New York, like, ooh, that's like dangerous, then I feel obligated on behalf of New York, on behalf of New York, to just be like, okay, wait. Let's just back up because yeah, it can be unsafe. But if you know what you're doing, you're gonna be fine. For the most part, you're gonna be fine. I would feel more frightened. I would feel more frightened, obviously coming in with no sort of understanding of what New York has. But if someone's with you and be like, okay, you're good, you're good. I came in 2018. No, uh, I didn't see that big of a difference. Um, I didn't see that big of a difference coming here and being here for I've only been here for 4 years, so maybe take that with as much as you want. But I just didn't see that big of a change, and I don't think New York has gotten worse in the sense that like I feel so much more unsafe than I did like 2, 3 years ago. No, I don't feel more unsafe. It feels exactly the same. Nothing has changed. I still feel unsafe because I'm a woman, because no one's doing anything to stop any sort of sexual harassment, any sort of thing that happened in the trains, at bars, at clubs, where any sort of outing you go, walking on the freaking street. So it's a personally selfish thing that I feel that there's no change. Mm, no, no, it doesn't, because uh, even during the pandemic, it felt okay. I guess an example of it would be during the pandemic, when everyone was like meant to be wearing a mask, meant to be implementing these rules that was going to be put all over, all even the tiniest things of wearing a mask, they couldn't do. And so the idea that some police officer at a station was just saying, here, wear a mask, and you're not wearing a mask yourself. I'm like, what are you, who are you helping? Who are you helping? It just felt like a bit hypocritical. And whenever they're there, it just feels, I don't know, like a little bit of a weight. Like an accident can happen. And I don't know, I think I may be influenced by just too many other instances that I have seen firsthand, but then also I've seen on the internet, and it shifts your mindset and how you view them, because you don't see them as a place of safety. You see them as a place of possible, they could be possibly against you rather than for you, in case you've done something wrong. And you don't even know what you've done wrong, because you don't think, because you think that you wouldn't have to know every single like freaking law to live in this country, but you do in order to not get in trouble. And it's like, God, yeah. He's, I didn't want Trump to win. And this is coming from a strictly woman perspective, but just a matter of respect and the type of person he was. To have someone like that in power felt wrong. Not to say that Biden is much better when it comes to things like that, because I think that there's still many things that have gone unnoticed in regards to women. I did vote for Biden. I voted for him, but it was because I didn't want to see Trump win again, and like deal with another 4 years of poppycock. Immigration policy, that was one of the biggest things for me, at least, because I mean, a good chunk of my family have immigrated from Mexico and El Salvador to be here, and that part of my family is actually very proud to be an American. They say it with their whole chest that they're it's not that they deny that other part of them, but they say like, no, I'm an American, I've earned my spot here. And the fact that he was tearing away children from families and putting them in these camps, it just felt a very personal and racial attack that I could never ever get behind. And I knew people who were who were Hispanic or Latin who did vote for him, and it really sparked an argument where I'm like, do you realize that he doesn't respect you? He doesn't respect where you come from. He doesn't respect like, if he had the opportunity, there would be a wall right now, a much bigger one than what we have. So I don't know. That was one of the major things for me. Oh, if Trump wins the election, I don't see myself coming back in those 4 years. Sorry, not sorry. I'm not coming back if he does. Someone of that nature were to win, I think any sort of respect, or I say respect a lot, but any sort of care for another human being is going to go out the window. And the only people that are going to be in favor are either those who have like a lot of money, or you're white and you're a man. I mean, I am white passing, so I don't really have to worry about this kind of thing, but I think I worry for like my family members and my friends who are not, and or like especially like my close ones. Um, Afraid for them, because I know that because I know that white supremacy exists, I know that if there was a chance to get rid of anyone that didn't look like them, they would take that chance. I don't know. I don't I don't know. It's a sad thing to say. It's I feel like everything I've said points to no. I think it's just my unwillingness to give up and hope that there's something that's going to change because it's because I am American after all. Um, my ancestors are from here. There's definitely a more spiritual, personal part to me where I'm like, I hope that just for the sake of humans, that there can be something, just something good that comes out of politics. Um, Recognition of women's bodily autonomy. I think that's very important for me. Um, I think that going hand in hand with that, I do support LGBTQ community. I think there needs to be a wider acceptance of these individuals and how they have chosen to live their lives. And yeah, I think those are like top two. Um, I will say there needs to be more anti-racist policies because I think anybody can say anything willy nilly right now. You can't get in trouble for it. I mean, people can reprimand you, but I mean, if someone wants to go out like saying any sort of slur, they can simply because they think it's freedom of speech or whatever they think it is. Um, so I do think that implementing more anti-racist policies would make me wonder. Oh, wow, America's really changing. um, I think. Oh, actually, this one I'm saying it as the fourth, but it is important to me just because of I think my parents would be any sort of like environmental change policies. Just because I do think that one, killing the planet, climate change exists. That's I feel is a fact. Agree, disagree, it's fine, whatever. Um, I think that there hasn't been much of a focus on it just because everyone's talking about, oh, humans, we're more important, like save us. I'm like, yeah, save us. Well, what if we don't have a world to save? So I think that goes up there for me, and I'm not sure about the fifth one. I said student. This was very very selfish though. It was a student debt relief, just because money, this capitalist society, really messes with you. I don't think that it's as scary as people make it out to be. I don't think that people are mean there. I think they're very very welcoming. The whole idea that it's anything but unwelcoming and wanting to help is false. Um, I think the word communist country is like give them a lot of fear though of like what that means and especially because like I mean communism means like different things to different people and therefore it took on a life of its own in different countries, and so their idea is that it is a very strict country and therefore they will be objectified or hurt or something like that. I'm like, well, no. I think I'm like you could be very happy. I'm like one because you are white and you'll be fine as an expat. A lot of times, because whenever like I think the U.S. has needed an out, a lot of times it will blame things on China, and as though it's the worst country and blah, blah, blah. Like oh because it's a communist country and therefore if we're anything that's not capitalist then we're socialists or communists and like we should do that in another country not here. And I think that it'll just make a negative outlook on China, especially with COVID that just happened. Whether we like it or not, it left people with a negative mindset about China, which is very, very unfortunate. And so yeah, which goes back to like racial policies. But I don't think that it's like China is properly encapsulated by the media. Even, yes, pollution's bad over there. It's really bad. It's really bad. But I feel like whenever I saw anything about pollution or even how horrible they've treated people there, which is true. That is entirely true. Concentration camps, all of that. That was horrible. I think then people automatically assume that the people that come from there are also horrible. And I think that was the problem. It's not to say that the country hasn't done bad things, but then they judge people, and they judge the people that come from there as though they have adopted those same principles and ideologies. And I think that's what kind of frustrated me a little bit. When people would kind of, I don't want to say judge, but kind of look at me like, oh, it's like, was it dangerous? No. 4 years, somewhere around there. I would go back again. Not for, I still have time left on my visa. So I got a 10-year visa, so I have to go back. I would go back again, but I think it's because of the memories that I associate with. It was I was happy when I was there. And there was a lot of freedom, like I said before, that came with it. And there's many things that I enjoyed about it. And probably it was also the people that I met there too. So I think that's also a contender. It is a different type of freedom. I need, because here here it's also like financial things, which does link to freedom just a little bit, just because it's so expensive to live here. So that's one thing. It's expensive to live here. I got my apartment still like with pandemic prices, and so this place was like, oh my gosh, like I think my neighbor pays like over like 2,600 to live here in an apartment like this size. I don't pay that, and it's insane. It's absolutely insane. And it's like rent stabilized too. So yeah. I think that freedom is just, I defined it differently at that moment in time because I was a teenager, and to me, freedom was like going out and just being able to do all that and come back home where I had a home and I knew everything was taken care of. That was different. Now, as an adult, as freedom, I think like, okay, I don't want to spend so much money on rent. I want to be in a place that I feel safe, where I can go out and also do those things that I used to do, without looking over my shoulder and be like, is someone following me home? I shouldn't drink too much, because I'm like, I want, if something ever happened, I'm like, I need to be prepared if someone like follow me home.